Germany was once one of the most modern and democratic nations in Europe, but within a few short years, it transformed into a brutal dictatorship that pushed the world into the deadliest war in human history. This did not happen overnight. It happened step by step. To understand how Nazi Germany rose to power, we must begin at the end of World War I. In 1918, Germany was defeated. The loss shattered the country. Soon after, the Treaty of Versailles was imposed, and for many Germans it felt like a punishment designed to humiliate them forever. Germany was forced to accept full responsibility for the war, pay enormous financial reparations, give up valuable territory, and drastically reduce its military. But the greatest damage was psychological. Germans felt betrayed, ashamed, and angry. During the 1920s, Germany's economy collapsed. Hyperinflation destroyed people's savings. Money became almost worthless. Families that had once lived comfortably were suddenly unable to afford basic food. Unemployment spread rapidly, and political instability became the norm. The democratic government of the Weimar Republic appeared weak and unable to solve the nation's problems. Many Germans lost faith in democracy itself. In this environment of fear, anger, and desperation, Adolf Hitler found his opportunity. Hitler was not part of Germany's elite. He was a former soldier and a failed artist, but he possessed a powerful skill. He knew how to speak to people's emotions. He did not offer complex solutions. Instead, he offered simple explanations and clear enemies. Through the Nazi Party, Hitler promised to restore Germany's pride, destroy the Treaty of Versailles, rebuild the military, and create jobs. He told Germans that they had been betrayed from within and that enemies like Jews and communists were responsible for their suffering. These messages resonated. As economic conditions worsened, support for the Nazis grew. By 1932, the Nazi Party had become the largest party in the German parliament. Germany was politically paralyzed, and conservative leaders believed they could use Hitler for their own purposes. They thought they could control him. On January 30th, 1933, Adolf Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany. Many believed this would limit his power. Instead, it marked the beginning of the end for German democracy. Only weeks later, the Reichstag, Germany's parliament building, was set on fire. The Nazis blamed communists for the attack and declared it a national emergency. Civil liberties were suspended. Freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and the right to protest were all removed. Political opponents were arrested, intimidated, or forced into hiding. Fear spread rapidly across the country. Soon after, the Enabling Act was passed. This law allowed Hitler to make laws without the approval of Parliament. With one vote, democracy in Germany effectively died. All political parties except the Nazi Party were banned. Courts lost their independence. Germany had become a dictatorship, not through a violent revolution, but through legal steps taken during a crisis. Once in total control, Hitler moved quickly to reshape German society. The Gestapo, the secret police, monitored citizens and crushed dissent. The SS became a powerful and loyal force that answered only to Hitler. Concentration camps were established to imprison political enemies. These camps were not yet extermination centers, but they were tools of terror. At the same time, propaganda flooded everyday life. Newspapers, radio, films, schools, and youth organizations were all transformed into instruments of Nazi ideology. Children were taught loyalty to Hitler from a young age. Independent thought became dangerous. Many Germans stayed silent, not because they agreed with everything, but because speaking out carried serious consequences. Hitler also focused on rebuilding the economy. Massive public works projects, including highways and factories, reduced unemployment. Rearmament created millions of jobs. Although much of this economic growth was artificial and driven by military spending, it gave the impression of recovery. For many ordinary Germans, life appeared to be improving. This increased Hitler's popularity and reduced resistance to his rule. At the same time, Germany began openly violating the Treaty of Versailles. The military expanded, new weapons were developed, and conscription returned. The world noticed these actions, but chose not to intervene. In 1936, German troops marched into the Rhineland, a region that was supposed to remain demilitarized. Britain and France protested, but they did nothing. Hitler realized that his opponents were unwilling to stop him. In 1938, Germany annexed Austria without resistance. Later that year, Hitler demanded the Sudetenland from Czechoslovakia. Britain and France agreed to his demands in the hope of avoiding war. This policy, known as appeasement, only encouraged him further. Each success convinced Hitler that he could act without consequences. By 1939, Germany was fully prepared for war. The economy was geared toward military production. The army was powerful, and Hitler believed his enemies were weak and divided. On September 1, 1939, German forces invaded Poland. World War II had begun. The rise of Nazi Germany shows us how fragile democracy can be. It does not always collapse suddenly. Sometimes it disappears quietly through fear, propaganda, and silence. And when the world fails to act in time, the consequences can be devastating.